Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I have a Canvas Workspace tutorial for a shaker, but it's not a shaker card. In this case it's for a shaker cake topper, as you can see here. Sadly, I don't have a cake to place it in, but it was a fun project to do nevertheless. And as you can see, it's in the shape of a cathedral or a church window. I've made this to go along with perhaps a wedding cake or an engagement party. Everything that you see here, I've cut out on my Scan and Cut, not from this tutorial, however, such as the roses and the butterflies and the leaves and the heart. Those were all leftovers from other projects that I've made, and when I do make such as these little rolled roses, I make extras so that then I can have them available for such occasions as this. The only thing I did not cut out on my Scan and Cut was the sentiment. So it is very simple to do, and if you would like to learn how to do this yourself, then stick with me and I'll show you how. Start by creating the outline for the window. In this case, it's going to be a church or cathedral style window, so with an arch in it. You can make your own. You could take that shape there and then change the angle on it to 90 degrees. And as you'll see, when you pull in the aspect ratio on this, it will start to change to that arch style. However, I have a file already in my cutting files that I've used on a number of occasions, and it's this church window here. And it's very similar, but you'll see just a bit of a difference in the angle here. I'm going to use that one. You don't have to, of course. Now, how I got this was I went on to, I believe I went into Pixabay and found a window and just used the tracing feature here, or you could also find just a generic shape in something like Google search or Google Images, in which case you would do the same thing, go into Images, trace the outline of it, and then you would have the beginnings of your own cutting file for your window. So to begin with, I'm just going to make this, take the aspect ratio off, 5.5 by 8. That could change as we go along. I'm going to start with that. Next, I want to create an offset line, and that's going to give us an opening here so that we can place our foam tape behind it. Before I do that, I want to go ahead and make a couple of copies of that. I can just pull off to the side there. Give them some color as well. And now this will be offset. Now I want it to be fairly wide for my foam tape to go behind, or you could cut out funky foam or chipboard, or you might just take several layers of cardstock and glue them together, whatever you're going to use for your spacer. But I'm going to, I think 5.2 would be fine. I'm going to bevel this because it's not quite rounded at the top there. And I'm going to make this an inward offset. So we've got 0.52 inward bevel, and I'm going to leave my original shape there. So we have that now. So when you highlight these two shapes, you could subtract it and it's going to punch this through, or you could just divide it, and that's what I'm going to do, because that then leaves the inside of this on my mat, so I can still work with that. So we've got this, if I show you there, we've got the aperture cut out of the middle of this. Now I'm going to use this one to help me create the next part of this, which is going to be a set of windows that are going to go inside of here. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to offset this exactly the same way. I'm going to duplicate it. Then I'm going to highlight these and align them. You could line them at the top, you could line them at the bottom, it doesn't matter. And then I want to overlap them so that I can weld these together. Now this is 0.52, remember? So if I go to my distribute space and have that at 5.2, when I click on the horizontal distribution, and that should place it exactly over top of that, so that I can now weld it together. And then I'll be able to place that inside of here. Now what I want is something along these lines, but sort of that shape at the top. You need to also be sure that though this covers completely there, so it's overlapped on both sides and at the bottom. I can place it in the center and then weld it together. So now I have my shape, except I see here, I'm not happy with that, so let's take that off and maybe move that a tiny bit up, like so. Just make sure that everything is good. And try this again, see if that looks any better. Yes, that's better. So I don't have that tiny little gap there. That looks good. Now, as I said, this is going to be the shaker part. So I'll have this on the top of the acetate. So the acetate is going to be cut out like in the outline of this window and placed behind here. And then I can have this also behind, like that. And that one can go there as well, which would be where we can place our skewers. I want to add another piece to this though. I want a crossbar on this window, so I can make that 0.52. Let's just bring it down onto the mat here. And then I can place it so that it also overlaps. I want it to be wider or longer at the bottom here than at the top. So I think that probably looks pretty good. So we can weld this together. And there is our window shape. I don't need that any longer. So I'm also going to have a piece that is going to go onto the outside of this. So to create that, I'll do the offset again. But I'm going to make this about 0.08. Yeah. And I give that a different color. You should be able to see where it's actually, I could just subtract that one now. It will fit over top of there like that, so that I could have a pattern paper or maybe a glitter card or something like that over top. So that would be the front, and then we can decorate all this. For example, you could perhaps put a heart in here. Go into the center there. Something like that. And then you would place that on there. And then I would do a mask for it, where you could do an outward shape such as that. Send that to the back. Could have that maybe glued onto the top of there. Whatever you like. You could have roses, butterflies, dragonflies, doves, whatever you like here. So this is your basic starting point, and then the decoration, of course, would be up to you. So far we have, let's just delete that. We've got the top piece. That's going to be the one on the very top. Then we've got, this is for the acetate to go behind. And that will also go behind the acetate with the spacer in there. And if you wanted to cut this out of foam or chipboard or cardstock, then all you would do is make yourself more copies of that and cut it out of the shape. And you can use that for your acetate, because these are all going to be the same. Now if you want, you could have the piece for the very back where your skewers will go. Offset that. And then delete the original. So now you would have these. Send that to the back, so these would also be on top of there. So you would have that little bit of border there and give it perhaps a little more stability. So there are all your pieces for your cathedral window cake topper. So ideal for engagements or wedding cakes, anything like that. Maybe a christening, you could have praying hands in here. So I'm going to send this to my machine at the moment, and then I'll have a play and show you what I come up with. So I'll meet you there as soon as I have exported this to my scan and cut. See you there. I've cut out all the pieces and I've done a lot of the prep work. For example, the card that I'm using to go on top of the acetate, I've doubled it up to make it even more substantial, and then I've put this piece of this sort of foam sea green, I guess you could call it, glitter paper on top. I've got my acetate cut out, and then to go behind I've got this piece, which is paper that I've cut out and adhered to some craft cardstock. Then I've got this satin cardstock, which is going to go behind, and then on the back of it I just thought make it a little more attractive if the back was also in a pretty pattern paper. So that's all being done, and we're ready to then assemble this. I'm going to adhere the acetate now to the back of this window. I'm just going to use the hot glue, I think, for this. Could also use liquid glue or red liner tape, that would be fine as well. And now we need to place the foam tape around these edges, and as you can see I've got just about the right size for this, which I can fit all round. I need to be sure that all the gaps are filled. So that there's no leakage. Not pretty, but I think it's going to do the job. Did a really bad job of that, I think. But let's get on with it. Now, we're going to fill all these sections here with a mixture of sequins and some confetti. I just sort of mix together here. And another thing I want to do is I'm going to take a little dab of glue, just a tiny bit, to make sure that some of these will actually stick to the acetate, so that when you lift this up, it when all the bits fall down towards the bottom, there'll still be some of the pieces left on top. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue in here. And then sprinkle some of these around. Hopefully they will stick to that. We could start putting the rest of them in. I want to sort of push them away from that foam tape until I can get that all stuck down. I'm going to start removing the backing from the foam tape. Place the backing piece on now. Make sure that's nice and secure. Right, you can give it a shake, and some of those did stay in the top there, so that's good. Could use even a little more, but I think we're going to be happy with that. Now that is going to go onto the back of this piece here. Use the liquid glue for this. For the middle of this, I've got this piece. This is actually from the machine itself. This pattern is in the Scan and Cut, and I made a mat for it, offset it just a little bit, and also took some shimmer pin and went around that. So I'm going to place this here, and I think I'll use some foam tape. Got a little bit here. Just put that there to give it a little bit of dimension. And give it a little more hold with a tiny bit of glue there. There we have our little heart. Now for the bottom here, I also have this sentiment with love to a beautiful couple, and that is going to go here on the bottom. Also have a sentiment here with love to a beautiful couple, which I'm just going to place along the bottom here. For that, I'm just going to take some of this red liner tape, because this is a glitter cardstock, so glue just tends to sort of shift around. The thing we need to do is to attach our skewers. So those are going to go onto the back here like that. I've flattened them down a little bit so that we can attach those. And just determine where we want them. I think that should be all right. I'm going to come in just about an inch on either side, so I can just use this grid line here to help me get my glue gun. I can place a bead of glue all along here. Press that into place, give it a moment to take hold. So I had to rummage through some of my bits and pieces that I always sort of have on hand, and just gathered a handful of them to see if I could also use any of them on here. So I'm going to have a little play, and I'll put you on high speed. These butterflies, as well as all the flowers and leaves, I've made on my scan and cut. These are from rolled files, the flowers that you just roll round. Same with these little tiny roses and the butterflies. And the little heart as well. That was just a piece of leftover from another piece, so that was the waste. So I thought it would come in handy at some point, and I think it really did. So just get a few of these little glue strings off, and that should be the shaker topper complete. I think that's very lovely for an engagement or a wedding cake, but of course it could be used for anything, especially anything to do around a church, such as maybe Easter time or Christmas, a christening, and other occasions such as Mother's Day or birthdays. And as you can see, it has that little bit of movement to it, and because I've put the glue on a few little spots, it also holds some of those in place. Plus these compartments aren't particularly large, so they tend to stay in the window there, so you can see them even when it's difficult to see that when it's. I can move the camera up just a bit, maybe we can get a better view of when it's upright, like so. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope that you enjoyed this cake topper and that you will give it a try yourself. Having the scan and cut, of course, really makes it quite easy to get all the pieces exactly as you need them, including cutting the acetate. There's not a problem with that as well. And of course you can design whatever you like in Canvas Workspace. All my subscribers, thank you so much for all your support, and if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so today. I'll be back with more tutorials very soon, so in the meantime, please stay safe and crafty hugs. Bye.